Welcome back. Okay guys, we're up here on this asbestos roof with Dennis and Global Construction and his sales associate here, and we got Tim with Atlas Abatement, and we're going to talk about asbestos removal. So Tim, why don't you explain first of all, oh, can I touch this stuff?
Oh my gosh, yes you can.
I mean, is it sometimes you're not supposed to touch asbestos? When do you know not to touch it, when to touch it?
Something like this is more of a hard material, so this is considered a non-friable asbestos, whereas you've got a friable asbestos, meaning you can pulverize it or turn it into powder or dust with your hands, something like a drywall material or popcorn ceiling, something like that. A lot of times has it. This is non-friable because you can't very well just break it up into.
So you can't breathe it in necessarily, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But there still is a process of removing it.
And plus, when you pull all this off, you may break some and cause some.
Yeah, exactly. And so much of it, at one time, exactly, it's going to do that.
Because the hail certainly broke some, as we can see here on the ground.
Yeah, this is pretty bad.
So this is all from the hail right here.
Wow.
On the rocks, correct? It just chipped out. It's pretty bad. So talk to us about, the tear-off procedure. What do you wear, a hazmat suit? What do you do?
Basically, so we're in either whatever it's up to the guys whether they want to be in a half face or a full face. Full face obviously meaning more protection. Full Tyvek suit. We'd be tied off. OSHA requirements would be met and everything like that.
You have special bags down here that you bag it with, tag it?
So we'd have to take the rocks and everything, and it's in 6 mil poly bags. They're 50-gallon bags. They have to be double wrapped, taped over a certain way. And then the process of just taking these off is basically doing it by hand with pry bar and hammer to release the amount of. It's going to break regardless, but
you're trying to cause less breakage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is why it's so labor intensive.
Exactly.
Okay, and then explain. You mentioned something about the rocks here and the removal of the rocks because of the material.
Storm, obviously, it's all over, just kind of in the rocks, kind of scattered throughout. So part of what we would have to be required to do is actually to take all of this because it's considered a spill at this point.
So the removal of the gravel as much as part of the removal of the roof is part of what you're concerned. Okay. Right. Interesting.
And it all has to be bagged out the same way, manifested, goes to a landfill from here.
Now for the coordination process for Dennis and the sales associate here, it's a major tear off. Are you drying? I'm assuming you're drying the roof in, or do you have a separate crew that's drying the roof in when you do the tear off?
That would be them.
So you have a drying crew here right while he's tearing off, correct? Now, do they have to wait and go section by section?
It's all going to depending on the scheduling and how all this thing's going to unfold, really.
You're talking about that's massive coordination.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a drying crew right when he tears that off. We're gonna come in and dry it in. Looks like we're gonna redeck it as well.
But
nice.
I would have to do this in phases, I would assume.
So there's no doubt in your minds we're gonna have general contractor overhead and profit on this claim, right? Shouldn't be a question. Is there any other things? A lot of contractors have questions. I know guys get excited when they sell asbestos roofs because you can't repair them. So it's an automatic replacement to what you call a lifetime equivalent, which could be a life. A lot of different definitions of lifetime shingle. But you're getting a better shingle to replace this what was supposed to be a lifetime shingle back in the day, right? So is there any other safety concerns that contractors need to know when inspecting, dealing with asbestos on rooftops?
Anything pre-1980, get it tested, something like this. If it's a transite material, you can guarantee that it's got asbestos in it. A lot of times the tarring itself, believe it or not, silver or black, a lot of times can sometimes have it. Caulking and glazing, a lot of times will have it. Sometimes the felting paper behind it will contain asbestos. Because
of the roof covering and because it's been on there so long?
Sometimes the black paper itself will have asbestos in it. And furthermore, if obviously the shingle itself has it, everything gets treated as asbestos containing material. That's just how the EPA in the state of Colorado recognizes all of this material now. Just like the rocks.
Interesting.
Because it's in the rocks.
Fantastic.
It all gets treated as such.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's a whole permit process. And doing this in phases, there's a whole other process doing that with permitting and everything. There's daily air monitoring that needs to be done.
Wow.
With it. Just for neighbors and
sounds complicated.
It's pretty complicated.
Sounds like a lot of coordination and complication.
For sure.
What did you do for your air clearance?
This is considered an open air abatement, so technically there doesn't have to be a final air clearance, but having daily monitoring somewhere around the perimeter of the building. Basically just is CYA for a contract, both contractors. Hysteria reasons, because a lot of times doing something like this, there's going to be identification of this being asbestos, and sometimes neighbors get uneasy about it. So it's just CYA for something at that level. You know what I mean?
Excellent.
What about inspection procedure?
And there would be a final inspection afterwards, just to scale through to basically just make sure there's no little tiny chips and pieces left in the anywhere.
Now, another thing, guys, always that, you know, and I've done asbestos removal on different roofing systems. The removal price in an Xactimate, as many guys know, is typically low. So a lot of times contractors have to get the sub out here to write a bid, to send into the desk adjuster to override what's typically underpriced in Xactimate.
Right.
And that's part of the process. In fact, we're going to go out to Dennis's office today or tomorrow and write this whole estimate, attach your sub bid, attach to his prime contract bid, and then make sure we get that overhead and profit approved and your price approved before we start the job, which is part of that process contractors got to go through when deal with insurance claims like this.
Understood.
It's complicated, but when we do it, you know, we get it done right. So,
Absolutely.
okay, guys, see you soon.